At Logan Wall 117 says, "Hey guys, going for a job interview tomorrow. Any advice? Can I get a clap and a half?"
Ooh, okay.
Yes. First, your clap and a half. Your good luck clap and a half for your interview.
This is still locked. Okay.
As well as what's some cool job interview advice? Here, we can go back to the game for a second.
Cool job interview advice?
Yeah.
I would say be results oriented. A lot of people aren't results oriented.
Yeah, saying stuff like "I work hard" is
very generic.
Nice, but
and everyone says it.
Yeah.
But saying stuff like "I did this and it resulted in this" makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's different saying "I work hard" and saying "because I worked hard, this happened."
No.
Or like "I improved something" or "I made so-and-so's job easier." That shows that you work hard, so you're not just saying it. It's about like demonstrating that you actually do what you say you do.
Right. So I did such and like for instance, I changed the thumbnails for this YouTube channel and it resulted in 10% more views on all the videos.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I changed the end slates on these YouTube end cards and it resulted in 25% more click-through rate or something like that. Like, showing that you have actual skills, or like, I joined the show choir and we won 3 times as many more competitions because I was a part of it. All of that stuff.
That one might be kind of hard to pinpoint.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But that one, I would say for sure. What about other ones? Have a good handshake. Practice your handshake. You know. Firm.
You bet.
Don't try and do the. Oh, here I guess you have to move the mouse. Whatever.
The mouse.
Don't do. Make sure you go straight on. Don't do the power handshake where you try and like overtake the person and then you like twist their arm.
Wait, are you not supposed to do that?
No, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. That gives a.
But that immediately shows my dominance over that person.
That person who holds your fate in their hands might not like you trying to beat them.
Then they need to get good. What if I do this, Steph? What if I do the handshake?
The handshake.
Like this.
That might make them uncomfortable, especially if they're me.
Yeah, does that make you uncomfortable?
Or you know what's also one to avoid. Here, I'll wait for you to get to stuff.
Here, what's one to avoid, Steph?
Where you do the handshake with like
the double.
Oh, because it locks in the arm. You can't. Don't lock in the arm.
No, I'm not allowed to lock in the arm, Steph?
No.
Why not?
Don't take any arms prisoner.
I'm gonna lock in the arm.
Let's see. Anyway, other job interview advice. Don't be afraid to say you don't know. It's better to say you don't know than give some really bad answer that makes it obvious that you don't know, but also shows that you're afraid. Like, if they ask you something you don't know, it's okay to just be like, I don't know about that, but I'm a fast learner, or something like that.
Right.
That's better to say than try and make it up.
Or I've never dealt with that, but I would learn from a fellow coworker who did.
Yep.
Enthusiasm is important.
Oh my gosh, enthusiasm goes so far.
Makes a big difference.
I don't even know why it goes so far, but if people are like excited about
because
a
a lot
job,
of people aren't enthusiastic.
That's true. And you want someone who's going to go into a job and be excited about it. So enthusiasm is pretty awesome.
So don't be the person don't be obnoxiously enthusiastic.
No.
But like be attentive. Be eager to answer questions.
Ooh, here I can brag about someone who works for us and what they did to demonstrate enthusiasm without being a crazy person.
Okay.
So we have Dan on our team who helps us with a lot of our art and thumbnails. And one of the things he did when he sent us in some example thumbnails to show the kind of work he does. Again, he didn't just say he could do the work. When we asked him, he was like, yeah, I can show you the kind of work I do. And he sent in some great thumbnails. And then he sent in an extra thumbnail that he took the extra time. He spent the extra effort on it. Oh, man. Okay, reload.
Trying this again.
Okay, try again.
Third time's the charm. We got this.
He sent in an extra thumbnail where the whole thumbnail was, will Dan get hired?
Yeah, he did a film theory-esque thumbnail with will MatPat hire Dan or will Dan get hired? And it was funny and it went above and beyond what we had asked him to do.
It demonstrates that you're enthusiastic about something. Again, not in a crazy way.
It showed he had a good sense of humor. It showed a lot about his personality. He's blushing right now behind the camera because we're talking about him.
He's so embarrassed.
So that's a really good way to make a really positive impression, is to like show. It's honestly the same thing I did when I had my first. Hey. Ooh.
Hey.
When I had. Are you kidding me? God.
No. Aw, man.
God. Where did he come from?
I don't even know.
Where did he come from? Where did he go?
Where did he come from?
Cotton Eye Joe. But no, it's something I did for my job interview too, where for my very first or one of my earliest jobs, where they're like, oh, come in with recommendations about how you would optimize or change the programming of this channel. And they gave me kind of a case study of the channel. And so I did a PowerPoint presentation where I outlined kind of the programming things that I would do, my rationale behind it. I drafted up kind of concepts or like a calendar and things like that so that I could present it to everyone who was in the room. Hey, this is my strategy for what I would do with this channel. And they were all really impressed. And they're like, hey, no one has done that. And as a part of this role, you would be expected to kind of give presentations about stuff like that. So this is actually really appropriate. And it showed them that not only did I have good ideas, but that I was willing to go above and beyond, and that I had the ability to create like a cool, interesting presentation.
Yeah, and that you understood what the job was. Like, doing something like that shows that you get what the job is. Because I think some people go into interviews and they don't do much research ahead of time, or like they don't ask questions ahead of time that actually help them prepare for a job interview. Because you want to know as much as you can going into the interview so that you're giving the right answers and you're not giving information that doesn't matter for the job that you're applying for. So it's like shows that you know what's going on and that you like understand the job well enough to actually comment on it. The chat mostly agrees with what we've been talking about, and they haven't mentioned anything about where the last one might be, but Tanya Tulami says, I'm not going to lie, my first special job at work was because I was enthusiastic, and mostly because of that.
It does, and it goes a long way because it shows that you're excited about the work that you're going to do, and that in turn translates to you doing better work. Like if you dread your job and you're going in to just kind of like cash a check and just kind of half-butt the whole thing, it's not half-butt, Steph.
A single cheek.
Single cheek.
You're going into single cheek the whole
time. If you're single cheeking it the whole time, no one
no one wants that. Start using that.
Single cheek?
You're single
Make sure you're going in both butts ready.
Both
doubly cheeked. Because if you're only going in single cheeked, man, you're not going to be a good employee.
No, it's
I
not
I know everyone here, like Chris and Jason.
They're in both cheeks all the way.
They're both cheeks every day. Isn't that right, Jason?
Both cheeks.
Both cheeks. All in.
If I had more cheeks, it'd be more cheeks, Jason.
Right? If you were three-butted, if you had tri-butts, all three of those would be there.
Mm-hmm. All 6 cheeks.
All 6 cheeks would be in the game.
All 6 would be active, ready to go. And that, you know what? That's what I appreciate about Jason. As many butt cheeks as he has, all of them are going into his work every single day. When I call him a butt head, he says, "Thank you, Matthew." Right,
and then I call HR.
Yep. And then I answer and I just say, "Please ignore Matthew." No, I also got my first job by being full-butted in the interview.
I think that means something different.
Yeah, I think that means something different. Yeah, full-butted.
By being, I dedicated all my cheeks to that.
All your butts were dedicated to it.
No, because my first job, I was interviewing in California, but I lived in New York at the time. And they were like, look, are you really willing to move out here? Like, do you really know what this job means? Do you really know you're going to work on weekends? You're going to work at night? You're going to be doing whatever it takes in this job? Like, and I was like, yes, awesome, amazing, sign me up, moving tomorrow. Like,
Take all of my butts. I am fully butted, guys.
Do you see how many cheeks I have back here? They're yours. So anyway.
My cheeks are your cheeks.
Mi chica es su chica. Like, we were on that level. That's not the word for cheek in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish at all.
You know what? I believed it. It was great. You sold it.
Don't pretend to speak Spanish in your job interview if you don't speak Spanish.
Here's another one that you don't talk about when it comes time to.
What's on the table there?
What's on the table?
Those shelves.
Oh, that's just another cassette recording.
Oh.
Here's another thing that you don't bring up in a job interview because it is. Oh no, it sends a bad impression. Don't ask about like hours or vacation time.
Yeah, don't ask. Don't ask for vacation time during your first interview.
Yeah, because
you sign the job contract and then you say I need vacation.
Yeah, like that, because what that tells the employer immediately off the bat is like, hey, this person is already thinking about their time off.
They are literally counting the days until their first vacation before the job gets started.
Same thing with hours.
Yeah.
The person's like, oh man,
yeah,
this person is going to be waiting for 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock to hit, and they're going to be out the door.
No, see, the thing is, I do think it's appropriate to ask, like, what are the in-office hours expectations, especially if it's a job where you might be doing some work from home and stuff. Like, I think that's totally appropriate, but it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate in your first interview. Again, if you're talking about rounds 2, 3, 4, whatever, then you may get into some of these detailed discussions. But in your very first interview, don't be the person who's like, look, I need every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I need to leave at 3 o'clock because I have, ice hockey yoga.
Oh, ice hockey yoga.
It's yoga on ice hockey blades. So don't be that person. That's a sucky thing to do.
So yeah, if you guys have any advice in the chat, let us know.
Yeah.
Job advice.
Well, one person actually had some really good advice here just a second ago. Shoot, where was it? Let's see. I think I may have lost it. But the advice was, if you're shy, practice looking people in the eye.
That's good.
Confidence is really good. Confidence is important, and looking people in the eye makes them trust you. So the more you can just stare them down, not in a creepy way, that's a good thing.
Keep your body language open.
Yeah.
Don't cross your arms.
Don't cross your arms. Yeah, that's a good one. Don't cross your arms, actually.
Because if you're crossing your arms, it shows, one, that you're nervous, that you're defensive. Two, that you're defensive.
Yeah.
And neither of those are images that you want to project outward.
Yep.
So avoid that if possible as well.
Here, I'm going to read a little bit more career advice. Laxbro415 just says, be confident and smile. Bethany Blossom says, thanks for the advice. I will bring all my butts to the next interview.
Yes,
make sure you're full butted in every interview you go into.
Never enter an interview with your butts half cocked.
John Whitaker, it says, really depends on what company you're going to work for and what field you're going into, but don't be afraid to ask for what you think you deserve for yourself within reason. When it comes to stuff like asking about the timing, asking about vacation time and stuff like that, there's a time and a place for it. You have to know the time and the place. And remember that first interviews, you are there to prove that you're valuable to them. Before you're asking anything from them, they have to know that you're worth it.
Right.
So that's why you don't bring that stuff up right off the bat. You say, here's why I'm awesome, here's why I'm valuable, here's why you need me. And they're like, wow, yeah, we really do need you. And then you're like, yeah, and you can have me as long as I get, my vacation, or as long as I can get blah, blah, blah off or whatever. That's when you throw that in, when they're already like, wow, we really need this person. They are so awesome. But if you go in being like, you don't know anything about me, I might totally suck as a human being. Want to give me some vacation time? That's kind of lame.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
Dress nicely.
Dress nicely. Well, it depends on that. Also, that's industry dependent, though.
It is, but it isn't, right? Like, definitely certain industry, like dress for the level above where you're interviewing for.
Here, Jason, you can call this one out really quick. We'll just flash it up for just a second while Matthew's doing that. Someone actually was like, "Oh, I needed this advice right now," and actually wrote down the job advice that we've been talking about. So look,
great.
learn something new from GTLive.
Nice.
Yep.
Clap and a half to you.
Woo! Nice.
Good luck, friends.
That was Page Like Stuff at Page Like Stuff on Twitter. This is the advice. It's just what I need right now. I'm literally taking notes. I think that's awesome.
That
that's really
is
fun.
Incredible. Hey, you know what? Glad to help. And if are
Hopefully-
there anything else,
hopefully it's
Jason,
helpful.
what
Jeez.
advice do you have?
Yeah, what advice do you have for job interviews? Jason has landed some pretty awesome gigs. Like one time he landed this gig with this company Theorist. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty swell.
That was actually pretty easy.
Wow. Wow.
What?
No, but actually, so when I was working at the job before I started doing YouTube full time, and I was still doing the channel in the background, that's where Jason comes from. He and I were working at the same company, and the company was merging with another company, and it was my job. Oh my gosh! No. And it was my job. It kind of sucked. It was my job to interview 4 different people and decide which ones stayed on and which ones to fire.
That's a rough job.
And they said specifically, we can only keep 2. And that was hard.
Yeah.
But Jason
So Jason was one of those 4.
Jason was one of the 4 that I needed to, like, get rid of.
And immediately
Like,
you were like,
absolute
he's out of here.
No, of all 4 of them, I'm like, Jason is the one far and away that we have to keep because he is the one who has it all together. There was one guy who was very clearly not, like, who had been coasting for a really long time. And it was very,
coaster.
well, and like, very obviously, like,
No, let's
was almost, like, ready to be
at his
fired.
job.
He's like, all right, I'm good to go. And I'm like, great, awesome, bye. Done. I'm like, you really don't like your job, dude. I'm getting the sense that you don't like, and also they didn't know, right? You didn't know when I was talking to you, Jason, that I was actually interviewing you for that purpose, right?
Not you specifically.
You're
but
smart though. You probably knew it was coming.
Yeah, and I had, like, my actual, like, supervisors and stuff like that were discussing things with me beforehand.
Really?
Behind the scenes, even before, like, the merger took
Really?
hold.
So there you go. So Jason knew, but everyone else, like, because I didn't want to, like, color their judgment and be like, oh, now I gotta, like, I wanted to judge them as they actually felt.
Advice, though. Research the company before you go into the interview.
So you
That
can
is
ask
very
knowledgeable
important.
questions.
Yep.
Is a big one. Like, when they say, do you have any questions, you
Have
should
a
have a
question.
question.
Have a question.
You know what? They might not have the answer for it, or they might not be able to tell you the answer for it, but you should have a thoughtful question that you prepared ahead of time.
When they're asking if you have a question, it's another
It's another
test.
question.
It's another.
It's not
yeah.
for you. It's another one for them.
Yep.
It's
Everything
did this
is for
person,
them.
Yeah. Did
Yep.
this person do research on the company?
Yep. And do enough research to ask something intelligent.
Right.
Yeah, it's part of your interview to ask a question.
Like, for instance, I interviewed at Riot in the early days of me looking for a job. I interviewed at Riot Games, and this was early, fairly early.
Always on time.
And one of the
yeah,
things.
it was. I mean, Leaf was big, but it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah, it was still. I mean, it was still very much growing. And one of the questions I prepared in advance was I had done research, and I'm like, hey, Dota 2's coming out. There's a lot of prep that's going on in the esports world as all these kind of MOBA competitors come in to try and fight League for their dominance. And so I asked in the interview, I'm like, hey, how are you guys preparing for the upcoming release of Dota 2? Are you strategically in any way, shape, or form worried about that? You know, and the job that I would have had would have touched kind of that world. You know, and so it showed that I'm aware of the industry, that I'm keeping up with current news, and that I was thinking about it from League's perspective, from Riot's perspective, and they really appreciated that. Okay.
All right. Next.
Take the axe.
Take the axe. Yeah. So stuff like that shows you that you know about the company, or you know about the job, or you know about people who work there. That all shows that you care, right? Just shows that you care.
So this one, See, the little cutouts at the bottom actually tell you where you should be looking for this stuff. It's very helpful.
Hey yo.
Visit Level K and have
Crazy.
But yeah, so that's a really good one, because that's one I think a lot of people misunderstand or think like, oh, I don't have any questions, why would I have a question? Or that's when they ask about like, what's the pay and stuff.
Or like, what's your vacation policy? Like, or, I mean, some of that is pretty standard, or it's like on the company website or whatever. But they'll.
Oh,
I don't know.
Here's another hard one, but good one, I think, which is. Sorry, I thought for a second like the room was starting to get dark. What? Here, I'm gonna ask you
Watch
guys
out for this guy.
What do you say? What do you say
Nice.
if they're like, "What's your pay expectation?" So I am the interviewer, and I'm like, "What do you expect to get paid for this role? What would be the rate that you're looking to get paid? What is your answer?" This is another one of those really hard questions that you need to come in prepared for, because it happens in pretty much every job interview.
Does it?
A lot of it's happened in a lot of the ones I've done.
So interviewers are not allowed to ask you about your salary history. At
No,
least not in
salary
California.
history, but what your salary
what are you
expectation.
looking for?
Yeah, what would you be looking to get paid? If we were to hire you, what would you be looking to get paid for this job? Oh, wait, is it getting dark? No. I'm just imagining things. I'm just paranoid at this point. So what do you say? So first off, here's strategy number one, which is
This is like interview 3.0. This is I feel
it's an
like
important one.
that you don't get to that kind of stuff until pretty late in the game.
Where's the button?
That's a really hard. I don't think, and I have to say, no one has ever asked me that.
I've gotten asked it before in interviews. I've gotten asked it
So
twice.
what did you say?
Uh,
I've never gotten that question. No one's ever asked me how much I think I should be paid.
First off, there are websites.
I was gonna say you should look on Glassdoor to see how much someone in your role gets paid.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was about to say. There's a website called Glassdoor.com that allows you to see general salary ranges for that job at that company.
Yeah.
Give or take. Like, there's definitely some flexibility there. Some of them are wrong. Not all companies are represented. Not all jobs are represented. But you can look at other similar companies, see if there's anything there,
Yeah.
things like that. So
that if you have to throw out a number, it's not insane.
yeah, exactly. Like, you want to be in the ballpark, right? But so what you say.
I think that's tacky of an interviewer to ask you, especially in person. I think that sucks
There you go.
to me.
Does that suck?
So
As a
there-
question,
I mean,
I think
it's a very sucky
I think that's
question.
I think if they're asking you that's a sucky thing to ask you.
So just so you know, recently I've seen jobs asking for that in the cover letter.
No, really? In the cover letter? Wow.
Just so you are aware.
Wow.
Wow, that's rough.
That's really rough.
Like-
Well, but even that, but even then, you have a chance to think about it yourself, go back and do research. I think to ask you in person is that's really rough.
Oh, you should do research ahead of your interview for that specifically, though.
You should. Sometimes you get thrown kind of curveballs and stuff. I don't know.
Back to the old grind.
So I would hide if I were you.
Actually, I have to. I guess on one of the rounds of one of my interview from the first job I had, they did ask me what my minimum expectations would be.
Right.
And I
And
happen
then that's
to
what
know,
they're going to pitch your salary at.
I happen to know someone at the company, so I called them and asked them what I should say.
What it should be. Yep.
Yeah. I remember doing that actually. Now that I think about it.
So Glassdoor.com is one direction to go. The other thing that you can say that helps cover bases, because here's the other thing when it comes to salary negotiations, whoever pitches out a number first loses. That's a general rule of thumb when any sort of negotiation. Whoever says what their hopes and expectations are first ends up losing because the other person
Can calibrate based on that?
calibrates what they're going to offer you based on what that person
I mean,
says.
no, it depends. Like,
Not necessarily. I mean,
it
here's
really
the thing.
depends.
It depends on who
I
you're
don't
negotiating.
think that because we do it both ways, and everybody
Well,
and people we work with also do it both ways. Like, we also
Yeah, but
have people
we're
who work,
also good people. So not to toot our own horns, but we're also good people. A lot of companies who I know a lot of people who work at a lot of different companies where they're like, oh no.
Other than the
Hold
harassment.
on,
Hold on,
get in
I
the
know.
box, get in the box,
I
get in the
know,
box.
I'm working on it. Ooh, okay.
Ooh, yeah.
No,
yeah,
but
we wouldn't pay something that we didn't think was fair.
no, but that's the thing. Like when we interview people, we have a range in mind, and as long as the person's kind of in that range, and if we think it's low, we'll scale it up accordingly.
Yeah, we've actually taken what people want and bump more
More than
more
once,
often
actually.
more often than not. If that person tells us how much they want and we actually don't think it's enough, we'll bump it up for them.
Yeah, we'll be like, hey,
We
you know what? We were
I
like,
don't-
here you go.
I think probably I don't know of other places that do that, but you know, as long as we're in the ballpark, yeah.
But that's so.
And when people have offered stuff to me, it's not like I don't think I've ever pitched out a number that's been crazy.
But so for me, so what you say is like, and no one ever really accepts this as an answer. But what I've done in the past, or I've tried to do in the past, is like, hey, I expect that this company pays a fair wage for the time and job that I would be performing, so I'd be happy with whatever the company, is prepared to offer me. And sometimes they'll accept that, which allows you to skirt the issue, make sure that you've said the right thing, and you haven't thrown out the first number. Sometimes, but sometimes they'll. But I've had interviews where they also press you after that.
I think Jason's right. I think most companies at some point will ask you to say what your requirements are.
At some point, but during the early interviews, if you can avoid it, that's always going to be the best.
To me, the
Yeah.
best thing for that is how you respond to the question more so than the number you actually give out. If you've done your research correctly, you should be able to give evidence for why you would think that you are worth this amount of money.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you calibrate it based on other jobs, that helps.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.